The cold metal clippers buzzed through the air as laughter filled the small police cell. 3 officers surrounded a young black woman, their mocking voices echoing off the walls as they shaved her head for disrespecting authority. She sat motionless, her tears silent, her dignity stripped strand by strand. They thought they had broken her, that their power would bury her spirit forever. But what they didn't know was that the woman they humiliated that night would one day return, not in chains, but in robes. Years later, in a courtroom packed with silence, those same officers stood trembling as she walked in, her hair grown long, her eyes unflinching, her name now prefixed with Judge. The laughter that once filled the air was replaced with fear. Justice had changed faces, and this time she was the one holding the gavel. Her name was Amara Lewis, a law student with dreams of changing the system that often silenced people like her. That night, she had been arrested during a peaceful protest against police brutality, her only crime being the color of her skin and the courage to speak up. Inside that cell, when those officers mocked her and shaved her hair, she felt the weight of every injustice faced by her ancestors. But instead of drowning in anger, she made a silent promise to rise, to fight, and to make them face the mirror of their own cruelty. Every sleepless night became her motivation, every scar a reminder of her mission. She studied harder, spoke stronger, and built a career not out of revenge but justice. Yet, deep inside her calm, a quiet fire burned, a fire that would one day make even her abusers kneel before the truth they once laughed at. Years passed, and Amara became one of the youngest and most respected attorneys in her city. Her intelligence was unmatched, her words sharp enough to slice through lies. People admired her strength but never knew the darkness that shaped it. She carried her past like a locked box, never speaking of that night. The world saw a confident black woman in heels and a courtroom badge, but behind her calm smile lived memories that refused to fade. When the promotion list for the new district judge was announced, her name topped it. Some whispered she was too young, others said she was too bold. None knew destiny was waiting for this moment. On her first day as a judge, she reviewed a case file that froze her blood, the names of 3 police officers charged with abuse of authority. They were the same men who had once laughed while shaving her hair. Her heartbeat slowed, her hand trembling only for a second before steadying on the gavel. She stared at their mugshots, time bending around her. The faces were older, tired and arrogant still. The hearing began with the usual procedures, but the moment she entered the courtroom, silence swallowed the air. The officers turned toward her, their smirks fading the instant they recognized her. Their laughter from years ago replayed in their minds like a haunting echo. The woman they had humiliated now sat above them, her black robe gleaming under the light, her gaze unshaken. Every word she spoke carried the weight of years of restraint. She did not shout or show anger. Her justice was calm, deliberate, and mercilessly fair. The evidence was clear: videos, testimonies, and victims who had been afraid for too long. Amara let the law speak for itself, her voice steady as steel. When the defense tried to belittle her, she reminded them of the Constitution they had sworn to uphold, turning their arrogance into shame. The courtroom watched, spellbound, as power reversed itself in front of their eyes. The once untouchable men now fidgeted under her gaze, realizing the world had changed. This was no longer their system, it was hers. When the verdict was announced, the room held its breath. The officers were found guilty on all charges: abuse of power, violation of rights, and racial misconduct. Amara did not smile. Justice was never about celebration. It was about balance. As the guards led the men away, one turned back, his eyes filled with regret. She met his gaze for a brief moment, not with hatred, but with the quiet strength of someone who had conquered pain without losing her humanity. When she struck the gavel for the final time, the sound echoed through the courtroom like the closing of a dark chapter. The same society that once laughed at her now rose in silence, witnessing what true power looked like. Amara walked out not as a victim or a symbol, but as a reminder that sometimes revenge doesn't need violence, just the courage to rise higher than those who tried to break you